Wagwan blessings. God bless.
Yes, sir.
Rastafari Selassie the first.
Rastafari.
Thanks. Yes, we're here again on another, podcast gathering attention for dialogue. Thank you for everybody that tunes in. We're excited to come and bring some updated material to you guys. Today we're talking about some major, major shifts in the politics in the global arena, some shifts in the weather, some shifts in the precipitation of what people anticipate for the future, and some shifts in the minds and the hearts of humanity around the world. So, you know, I just wanted to kind of open up and get you guys excited about what we're doing today so we can bring you all up to speed with some new developments. Brother Josh, if you wanted to add anything, man, by all means, you're more than welcome to.
Of course. So, as you all may see the topic, the Great Reset versus the Great Awakening. I just want to, I just wanted to bring some insight that I've seen as far as some of the shifts that are going on internationally right now. I'm seeing a contrast between the climate that is happening, the climate socially, economically, and politically that's happening right now in America, while there's a different shift that's happening right now in Africa.
Right.
And at when you look at what's going on in Africa, we see an uprising, and there's also a shift happening right now consciously as far as the consciousness of melanated people as well as many other people in America as well. And we see a lot of attention. A lot of the spotlight is going on with what is happening in Africa right now, as far as, for example, Ibrahim Traore, the great example. You know what he's been doing over in Burkina Faso has been capturing a lot of people's attention as far as the sovereignty that he is looking to establish through the expulsion of the French troops. Going back to gold-based currencies. We see them paying more attention to the resources that they do have instead of relying on the United States, the U.S. aid and just outside influence so that they can truly gain sovereignty over their country. And we see a lot of other countries looking towards them and looking to try to, we see Burkina Faso trying to lead by example.
Uh-huh.
And then
Right.
on the flip side, here in America, we see just the lack of trust in the powers that be. You
Right.
know, um,
No, that's fact.
you know,
There's a decline. Western civilization is feeling the impact. And let's not downplay this. This is very, very important. This can't be this can't be downplayed when you're talking about economics, when you're talking about statistics, and when you're talking about the facts, right? European powers are scrambling right now. They're trying to catch up with this new age awakening. One thing about oppressors is they always have to have a form of control. And when they don't have a form of control, then they start to scramble. They start to do what they're doing now, which is worried and overly right panicking. Like doing whatever they can in desperation. And usually, a key sign of this desperation is when global leaders who buddy start to divide, right? Because a clear sign of them having infighting is a response or what we call blowback. When your strategy is to divide and conquer, then that's what ends up happening to your empire in the end. And if anybody studies Rome and their empire, and eventually what brought Rome to her knees, it wasn't outside. It wasn't outside. It was inside. If you go and study Rome's history, the greatest part of Rome was their unity, and the destruction of Rome was their disunity. And it's almost as though as soon as they grabbed almost all power, or seemingly, right when Almighty decided to bring their empire to their knees. We know about, I believe it's called the triumvirate between Pompey, Julius Caesar, and Marcus Aurelius, from what I understand. And we know that this didn't end up well for Caesar. And Caesar's praised to this day. He's praised. But it didn't end up well for Caesar in the end. So now we see in our times we have people like Elon Musk and Donald Trump, or Donald Trump and Elon Musk, and they're having kind of like a battle of the titans right there in public. And this is a fallout that American public cannot withstand if they're not careful. This could be the catalyst that begins to bring the empire to its knees. Why? I don't know. I don't think a lot of Americans realize how interconnected Elon Musk's business interests are with this country, right? You see, Elon has a history of being democratic, and that democratic, his companies are forward and progressive companies. The structure of his companies was founded with the idea to align his company's interests with democratic ideas, right? And the Democratic Party. And when he made that shift to the Republican Party, he might have made some ideological shifts, some financial shifts, but his company's interests, what you call the bottom line, was still on the side of the Democratic Party. So now that he's more aligned with with what we would call Republican side of the House, it's almost like there's a shift where in which these are not able to be reconciled. You get what I'm saying? That the business interest versus the personal theological growth that he may have had, which I don't want to get into because that's his personal thing. But we're talking about what Europeans would call, one, the most powerful man in the world, and two, the most wealthy man in the world. Okay? So, President of the United States and the wealthiest man on the planet. And some might say Elon is the most powerful. But I guess when two titans clash, nobody wins. And this is why I don't understand why Americans are still revving this on. But Americans are so far gone, they have become numb to these type of situations where they can't understand the gravity of what's at stake, right? From what I understand, the United States satellites went off not too long ago, and I believe it was Elon's Starlink that was keeping American satellites, right, running. What does that look like if Elon is put out of the picture, right? Is the country become too dependent on privateers? But then let's look at the adverse and the flip. Let's look at the flip side, right? If Donald Trump in this country is facing a situation that they've never faced before, because the dependence is mutual. It doesn't just go one way, right? The private sector, because they're interconnected with our government, is also codependent on our economy. You're making a lot of money from the United States economy, and if it's tanking, then this means that the banking infrastructure is going to take a major hit too. You can't really separate the collateral. They call it collateral damage. So there was something that had impressed my mind and heart that I wanted to speak on pertaining to this topic, about this global shift, because we want to speak specifically to the European shift, and then we'll shift over into the black or diasporan shift in awareness, and perspective. So
Yes,
let's dialogue on this. I want to give you a chance to speak so I can collect my thoughts, so I can finish this L, and then I want to jump back in. If you can kind of pick up where I left off with some things you wanted to add to this, and also, by the way, if you can send the Idrin the link to me, I say
oh, yes, sir.
to get them involved. We'll just take a 1 second for anybody who's watching, whoever may watch this in the near future. Forgive the eye. I just need a second to gain my regain my thought process.
Yeah, no problem.
Mhm.
I would. Okay. Let me see if I can find their emails, because it would be so much easier if I could use the WhatsApp on my laptop to just send it to everybody, but
Mhm.
or even just send it to myself.
Oh, they won't let you text.
Yeah.
Let me think for a second. Okay, let me open this clubhouse and we'll engage them through there.
Okay.
I put tomorrow. Let me put today. Tuesday is. I'm looking for June. Is it the 9th today? It's got to be the 9th.
Yeah.
Okay. Start event. Boom. Started the event. I'm gonna send them a link again. If you can jump into the house, I'll send you the link real quick too. Boom. It's sent. Let's see you another. Let me see. Brother Rambo, me Rambo. Brother Livica. Oh yeah. Brother Nishan. Wow. All right, cool. Those are sent. Let me plug my phone in so it don't die too while I'm on the chat, and we'll get back to it.
No problem.
The Great Awakening. Excuse me. The Great Reset versus the Great Awakening. You know, King Charles talked about this Great Reset right before he passed. Y'all know that. Fascinating. Oh, Brother Joshua, there you go. Bless. So that's what I wanted to talk about. Okay. So I want y'all to picture a world in American history where Great Britain is running the country, and I want you to picture a world where Great Britain, if they decide to continue to fight this war, they have the capacity to do it. But Great Britain got smart, and they said, "Why continue to fight this war when we can just basically create a corporation in Washington, D.C. And once we usurp, we will let them build everything out, and then we'll just come and take the harvest after they fought the wars." Essentially, what seemingly happened with the Treaty of Paris. In the Treaty of Paris, from what I understand, the King of England is titled as the Prince of the Holy Roman Empire. Makes you beg the question, who's the king? In the Treaty of Paris, the the King of England is also titled as the Ark of the Treasury, right? This title, many believe, gives him power over the global banking structure. Now, a lot of people don't know this, but London, right, Buckingham Palace and all that may be for the public, but the inner circle, the ones that overstand, know that the real power sits in the heart of the city of London. And the city of London still operates very much like a gilded age with aldermen and, you know, people that essentially are really, they say, running the world. This is where majority of the banking system is happening. And what makes this area unique is that they fall under a completely different legal framework, right? They're very similar to Washington, D.C. Okay. So learning this, learning that they put their headquarters right outside of London, right? Right outside of the jurisdiction of this nation makes them essentially untouchable, right? And there's three primary headquarters on Earth, where in which power, real power on Earth resides. And one is the city of London, the other is Washington, D.C., and the last and the greatest is
The Vatican.
the Vatican. And essentially, the Vatican's banking and the Vatican owning most of the largest land on earth puts these individuals in a very unique position for one reason, because it's the most known and unknown. They are what you call power behind the throne, right? So you may think you know, but you have no idea. Why I'm bringing this up is because if you understand the Rothschilds banking family and how they planted their interests in multiple countries and dominated markets and stirred wars behind the scenes, this is what culminated from that era, right? Is now I have 12 banking systems in your country that loan your bank's money with interest tacked on to every single dollar, that loan your government money with interest tacked on to every single dollar, a state of perpetual debt. And they're loaning that money, and that money doesn't come from anywhere but thin air, like magic, right? And all of this transpired from the stock market collapse of 1912. J.P. Morgan cornered the stock market by pulling his stock, right? People bum rushed the banks and found out there was no wealth. There was no money, right? It wasn't really backed. So they panicked. And this panic caused for them to withdraw their money from the stock market. And once the shares were very low and very affordable, JP came back and took and purchased them for pennies on the dollar. While go on, Bertrand, welcome to the room. More than welcome to come up. If you have any questions, concerns, or reservations, we'd love to hear from you. We are also on StreamYard. Brother Joshua, if you can, put the link on the Clubhouse, that'd be dope too. You can see the eye. Mm-hmm. We put this under here too. So that being said, now let me invite some people in too. People might have questions or have. It'd be dope if we could connect this to where we can hear it, but it's all good. Yeah, they got my man's right here. Yeah. Okay. Enjoy these podcasts with delay, chill while y'all can, because it ain't gonna be like this forever. We chilling and cooling right now, but when we start get going and we get the backgrounds behind us and we get the official, you know what I mean? We get the official promotion, promotional banners and all that. You'll know it's official. Right now, we're not in it for the capital. We're in it to build, to teach, to reach out to our people. So thank you for anybody that's sharing and coming with us. So moving right along. So we're giving you the history of J.P. Morgan because it's integral part of their hostile takeover, right? Mm-hmm. Some people would argue, America and American citizens are not necessarily slaves to a corporation. But and however, your social security says different. Your social security number, which you're issued once you're born, is proof that when you come of age and become working, that you'll be paying for the national debt through your taxes like every other citizen, right? And once more so, why are we paying that? Well, if you study the history of the stock market collapse, you know that by 1930, they went and passed the National Security Act, ran up in people's homes, eventually taking their gold and replacing it for paper, and then changing the paper bills from what said legal tender to Federal Reserve note as a clear sign of who's running things around here. So this is very deep. Why did I give you that history? Because now you understand that Washington, D.C., right, which is owing its allegiance to the city of London, where this banking hierarchy resides and operates and functions like the heart of the entire world's global economy, essentially is who keeps that eye on you. Like they say, Illuminati got my mind, soul, and my body. Secret society trying to keep that what? Y'all know. So now, why is that important? Because Donald Trump comes into power. And Donald Trump now seems to me to be bulldozing federal organizations. Many people in the American community don't realize that these federal organizations are an oversight, but they are no oversight for their organizations and agencies. Say that again. They have oversight, but there is no oversight for their agencies' actions, for what they're doing. And this is more than likely a major conflict. Obviously a conflict of interest for the integrity of any sovereign nation, but also for the people. And Donald Trump, being a man of the people or claiming that he's a man of the people, is either doing a great job showing that he's essentially going to be cleaning the swamp, like he say, or this is a bigger game being played. There's two sides to this coin. One is that he's legitimately destroying federal agencies so that essentially our country can finally finish the Revolutionary War that has started, or he's bulldozing the pyramid, or the pillars of this house so that they can integrate new pillars which will be sustainable for the next century and beyond, because they understand that this house is falling. And could it be that it's falling too fast? Right? So I'm going to give a little segue. I want to hear what you had to add, because it sounds like, something stirred in you. What you want to say, bro?
Yeah. It made me think when you were saying that, if I'm not mistaken, before Trump came back into office again, I remember him saying something along the lines of, he was talking to his supporters. He was saying, "Oh yeah, don't worry. Once I get in office, you won't have to worry about anybody else." I'm paraphrasing what he said, but he said something along the lines of, "Once I get into office, you won't have to worry about anybody else being elected," or something to that extent. Where it's like, yeah, like it's like there was almost a tone of him promising that there was going to be some sort of like
totalitarian government
implement that was going to affect the entire political process altogether for anybody coming after him.
He was caught on a few hot mics, and some of those words were spoken like, "Would you be a dictator or something?" And he said, "Yeah, sure." It's like almost like breezing through it, like, of course. Now I want to bring a little bit of awareness to what you would call the shadow government, which is not necessarily elected. And that who I mean is like people like Steve Bannon or other what you would call lobbyists who invest in in his presidency. You see what I'm saying? You don't invest in somebody unless you know there's kickback. That's why Elon Musk is so upset right now, because he was expecting more kickback. Trump may have went public and said what he said, and it may have been to cover himself. He may have said, yeah, we're gonna cut these electric vehicle programs we got that's benefiting your company. He might have said that to the press and then got off of the camera and said, don't worry, Elon, I'm just bullshitting. You know what I'm saying? Just for lack of a better word. I'm just telling them what they want to hear. And then went and been pressured to do it because the people demand it, and they understand that those polls are showing and the statistics are showing, or they're feeling the pressure, or maybe the whole time he planned on doing it and was just selling Elon a pipe dream. Because Elon is a smart person. He's not mad for no reason. This what do you call one beautiful big bill? This bill is going to, I'm not going to say it's going to decimate his company, but it's definitely going to cost him billions. That's for sure. It's going to cost him billions. There's a $7,500 tax, I think tax break or credit for people who purchase Tesla. So he's been eating off of those bills, and this is something the American public need to ask: why was it that way? We understand that you want to go green and we want to do better with electric vehicles, but seems to me like he got a monopoly in that electric vehicle game. What's going on? Nobody thinks about these things critically. So, what am I saying, and why am I saying all this about Trump? So we can kind of start to get ready to transition into our people, right? What I'm saying is the infighting is a clear sign of blowback. It's a clear sign of their, what you would call, empire collapsing. And this is just one of the many, many signs. Them appointing a black man as a general, and then having him head as a 4-star general, and then having him head AFRICOM, right? And now this is a sign that Africa is becoming something they don't know what to do, because they're concerned about the militarization of the continent. They're concerned about the unification of the continent. They're concerned about these new militant leaders who are inspired by the leaders of the past, who are starting to now come and become victorious in fighting against military coups. Worst thing Ibrahim Traore can do is prove to the rest of the heads of state of Africa that it's possible to fight against military coup if they unite. Hold on, one second.
Yeah, ugly.
1 second, You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
No, I do not affiliate myself with Starbucks. I don't have nothing negative to say, but I definitely don't have nothing positive either. I'm just drinking out the mug. Forgive the eye. Anyway, point I'm trying to make is that we're witnessing some of the first stages. Not the first stages. We're witnessing maybe some of the middle or last stages. I do not wish America to fall. I do not hate America. I feel like this country and some of what it said it would stand for were some of the most, what you would call, hopeful things that humans could stand for. The problem is they just haven't lived up to them. They just haven't lived up to them. What do they say? Wishful thinking. What do they say? The road to hell is paved, seen, with good intentions.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe our founding fathers had some good intentions. Maybe they thought what they was doing was right. But I'll tell you now, every fruit that you try to bear without the cosign of Almighty will bear no fruit at all. You feel me? And that's what they're dealing with. They said, let us build an empire. They said, let us take over the world. Failed. Right? They sat down and said, let us take over Africa at the Berlin Conference. Failed. They said, let us take over India. Failed. They said, let us take over China. Failed. See? And now, right, because universal law, irregardless of whatever hatred is happening, regardless of whatever vitriol that people have for Europeans, this is deeper than racism. This is spiritual. The war's going to be won the right way because the original war was fought the wrong way. See?
Yeah.
And the righteous know two wrongs don't make it right. You see what I'm saying? We trying to make this right. The wicked are the ones standing in the way of righteousness. That's where the keepers of the light come in. Hold on one second.
Yes, sir.
Trying to get situated. Forget the eyes.
Oh, I'm good, brother.
Yeah, so that's where the keepers of the light come in, right? Because the keepers of the light know the power of the Trinity. Right? We know that it was Haile Selassie I that unified Africa when they couldn't bring the Monrovia group and the Casablanca group and when they couldn't bring these African leaders to peace. They're on the brink of war. They did know who they could call. You know what I'm saying? What they say, who you gonna call? Right?
Yeah.
And then here come His Majesty with his hat on and his military uniform on and his cape on. See me I say?
Yes, sir.
You know what I mean? Coming in any weather, rain, sleet, or snow. We got the video footage. See me I say? What, I gotta come in the clouds with no engine or my engine die? I'm coming. See me I say? I'm there. Mr. Smith, the sly fox of Harar, as the 48 laws of power call him. Right? Ras Makonnen or Rastafari. I'm coming. You feel me? So don't think for a second that we don't trust that good will overcome evil, because we maintain eternal vigilance. That being the case, it's perfect segue to start talking about Black people and our divine duty and responsibility at this time. I'm going to give my people some sound advice, wise counsel. See me I say? Because I have a wise counselor. See me I say? What we call a wonderful counselor and a mighty God. And he teaches us that no man should judge another man's faith, right? For no man knows the ways of God. What does that mean? That means that the Bible is the rallying point for mankind, because the Bible don't judge other faiths. See? Right? It judges evil. Joshua might have had to slay another nation, but it was because of the abomination and the wickedness that this nation was doing. It wasn't because this nation worshipped another god, right? It was because a lot of these nations were begotten from the Nephilim and from the Anunnaki, cursed from birth because they were birthed from rape and birthed from a transgression of a covenant. The Watchers leaving their heavenly abode, coming to the earth, coming into the daughters of man, begotten children, men of great, men of renown. Some men you may hear of all the time, Hercules or Zeus, demigod, half man. And they were plaguing the earth with all type of abominations, eating man's body like the cannibals of today, drinking man's blood like the sanguinians of today. See me I say?
Mm-hmm.
No disrespect, but reality check. Feel me?
Mm.
These individuals essentially are spirits that plague the earth. That's why we learn from His Majesty. And I'm saying all this. If you never heard this, it's still important because this is advice and counsel. Because some of y'all black folks out there, you want to go to task. You want to throw mazel toffs in buildings. You want to go into the building that you've been looking at for years and take the shoes that you believe you deserve because of the injustices that have happened to you. But that's not being a soldier. The Boondocks say, I'm a remain a soldier till the war is won.
Mm.
We are soldiers in God's army, and we have to march according to Almighty's orders, lest the war be lost.
Mm.
The orders are written, so we ain't got to look to no left or right to find them. We should all know the orders because it is a reflection of us following and being real members of the Christian faith, right?
Mm.
Of the Rastafarian faith, ayah, right? Of the Abrahamic faiths, ayah, seen? Of the Muslim faith, seen? Right. Those of faith know that the mystics of old said the same thing. Love. Love the eye like yourself and pray for your neighbor or for your enemy, right? Now, that's a hard thing to understand for secular minded people, but that can save a man's life in real time. Because if a man should think to strike another man back after he hit him, maybe strike him twice as hard, he could kill that man and take that man's life, right? But if you have that peace that surpasseth all understanding, this may be your saving grace. This grace may save you from prison. This grace may save you from being killed. Grace may save you from torturing yourself at night for what you've done, even if you get out of a courtroom alive. You may be spiritually dead. Seen? So, wise as serpents and harmless as doves is the advice that I have for my people, for the ayah out there. Let go of your hate. It is going to destroy you. Pray for the brethren right now. See? Because these people are preying on you. They are preying on you, ayah. What they're doing is setting you up for failure. They are using the left as a political smokescreen to resurrect white supremacy because they understand the white community is the largest community in the United States. So they understand if they're going to integrate artificial intelligence into the workforce in the place of a workforce, right?
Mm-hmm.
That, then they're going to have to turn the workforce against each other and then send them home from what we call a vaccination. Get them comfortable and complacent while we integrate checkout lines and digital Autobots and transponders on everything or RFIDs on everything. What did the hospitals integrate to be able to make this massive transition or exchange happen? Did they integrate a lot of new nanotech and systems that you may not be aware of? Is this a 20, 30-year-old plan? Do you know of Agenda 2030? Do you know of Agenda 2063 at the African Union? Are you aware of the new technology that's on the market that they want to bring to market, but you're in the way? Right. So this is where the world realize that this is the devil's kingdom and they want to come to God's, just like how the antediluvian time, the wicked wanted to get onto the ship at the last minute after God gave them hundreds of years to repent. Noah had to say no. And that's the hardest thing about all of this. You may hate your enemy until you start seeing your enemy being slaughtered. And then you start to empathize or sympathize with your enemy. and desire for the carnage and warfare to stop is too late. This is not our battle. For the battle is not yours. The battle is the Lord's. And this battle been waged before you was born. And surely will be continuing continually after you're gone. Or until the Lord passes judgment, which I believe. If you're a believer, I hope that you believe. And if you don't believe, you got to ask yourself twice if you really do believe. So, segue. The black community, my advice, so we can move on, is you're going to be challenged in a way you can't imagine here in the next coming year. You're going to see things you want to impulsively respond to. You should not. You're going to see events that you impulsively want to engage in. You should not go. You're going to think that there's a way that seems right. It leads to death. But there is a road that is narrow, few find it, and there's a gate which is small. Few will go through it. To me, I say, the Rastaman and the ones that are continually meditating on his word day and night, who fall short of the glory, but trust in the divine grace and mercy, that understand all things are working for the good of those that love him. Well, that community has to understand that you are a guiding light to those that are lost, and yet there are still fruit to be saved. See me, I say. So, the black community, I'm not telling you to just get up and repatriate. Neither was Haile Selassie. That is a myth. That is a lie. His Majesty was telling you to wake up first, to focus on strengthening yourself, to learn some of the cultural values of your ancestors before you consider repatriating, right? And I would encourage you to do the same. There are cultural nuances that are very important before you move to any country or even a city in the United States and around the world. And those cultural nuances have to be really considered before trying to integrate into any social construct. Otherwise, you can really destroy your entire life, right? Your psychology. You might think you something special in one city, get to the next city and realize you ain't in your industry. You might think that your let's say contacts are strong in your city and move to another city or another state and know nobody. So my advice before we move on to our community is make sure that you properly prepare for any moves you make. The Asian community. Oh, Brother Livercall, come on up. Yes, I. Yes, I.
I was trying to bring him up, but I don't think I have a green bean.
Greetings, Ja Rastafari Selassie the first. My Lord, that's it, my Lord. One true, perfect love. Mm-hmm. Yes, I. Yes, I. Got the OGI. Okay, bless. Come on up, Armin. Give thanks. We're almost done with this podcast. Let me just close up. I'm gonna leave the podcast running so they can hear y'all commentary. But I do want to just say one more word to it, and then we'll open the floor for popcorn feedback. You dig? Okay. Because we live right now. If you can, send Brother Livercall the link as well. And
actually, I put it in the comments too.
Okay, bless. All right, so okay, the link is in the comments. I'm gonna put it at the top for everybody. So if you come in the room, you can go ahead and join the other link too, because this will be popcorn. We are recording you. Anybody come in the room, so you know. Adrian, when people come in the room, remind them we're recording them on live stream too. But yeah. So last thing I want to say as I close is that when there's a shift, I want you to picture, if you will, a boat shifting from one side to the other, or a wheel with a bunch of money on one side that was on this side and now is flipping all the way around to the other side. And what does that look like in preparation? Right? That's why we telling people think we just saying run back to Africa. No, we said take advantage of dual citizenship. The world is interconnecting like never before. It's imminent that in the near future, the world will be one. How it happens, we don't know, but we know it's happening every day. We pray that if we know that, we do know that in the end, there's a new heaven and a new earth and judgment. We do know that, we understand that. But as it stands today, the world is interconnecting like never before. If I go back to 1970s, I couldn't get on and see my son in Japan. I had to wait till a picture came, or possibly some form of computer. At the most, I can't even really see the computer being a thing. Can you? Was it 70s? Well, I think computers began around like 46, 50s, I believe, 40s, 50s. But they used to take up a whole room. You know what I'm saying? So as far as images and texting and all that, this is different. We're living in a different era. Our forefathers never saw this. I couldn't call my mans in Atlanta like, yo, let's talk. I had to beam him on the phone. And there was a time when I couldn't beam him on the phone. There was a time when I could only beam you. I couldn't beam you though. Feel me? Because there was no three-way. See me I say? But now we have Selassie. See me I say? See, now we got a three-way. Yeah. Pause. I ain't saying it like that. I'm saying we got a three-way conversation. See? We have the power of the Trinity between us. What does the word of God say? When two or more come together in my name, there I will be in the midst of them. That's the first thing Haile Selassie said to the World Evangelical Council in Berlin. When two or more come together in my name, hosted by Billy Graham, by the way, for all you Western Christians, right? When two or more are gathered together in my name, there I will be in the midst of them. So, yeah, I just wanted to say that. I don't want to chally on too long. Brother Livical, welcome to the stage, Aya. Bless.
Bless up.
Mm-hmm.
Brian, you thanks, the invite and the opportunity. Yes, I.
Oh, yeah.
All the people who are outside His Majesty very much are confused from what I can see, because they have chosen other ideology. And we know all these other ideologies, they're not new to us. For example, it was fascist Italy that invaded Ethiopia in 1930. It was colonial Italy that invaded Ethiopia in 1896. So all these ideologies cannot stand against the Rastafari. Because we are not new and are very familiar with the concept of Ethiopia.
Right.
How it was situated.
Right.
We continue to struggle today against these new fascists. We continue to struggle against the new Nazi, the new racist, the new plantsmen, and all those who oppose international morality.
Yes, we just don't know, how all of this is going to come together, but I think it is very fascinating and something that we can definitely dissect, because this whole Trump versus Musk thing has now transformed the entire lay of the land, if you will, right? Because I want you to picture Rockefeller versus, a president, Theodore, Roosevelt. You know what I'm saying? or someone in his time. Like, okay, so Rockefeller lived, I want to say, in the early 1900s, right? He was Standard Oil. So who was president in the early 1900s? McIntyre? Oh, good question.
I got you.
Let me ask chat real quick. Who was the president during the early 1900s? Can you list three from 1900 to 1930s, please? Let's see. Theodore Roosevelt. Yeah, that's who I said first. Cool. Woodrow Wilson, Herbert Hoover. So now imagine John D. Rockefeller is beefing with one of these guys openly, publicly. But see, the difference is back then nobody would really know until the news hit. Nobody would know until they saw it on the tube, if they saw it on the tube at all. They may not have had tubes back then. But now people know in half a second what Musk was thinking. Think about the impact of that world when you can't recall thoughts and the whole entire world is in tune. That's what you call hive mind. And anytime they're ready to grab your mind and put it into the hive, they can't. Kanye does it best, really. So what does that mean now in y'all perspective? This Trump versus Musk thing as it's rolling out. Like, I feel like America is underappreciating and also underestimating the gravity of this situation. What say the eye, brother Livercall? What you think?
Well, when it comes to mining, that general the data, also have to think about things that are mined are going to be kept in the
Can you hear? You can hear what he's saying, right?
We're going to keep these data that we can mine. Is it going to be for the private corporation or is it going to be for government?
Well, is what are you asking? Is what going to be? You saying it? Oh, okay. Who has mines and where? Okay. You talking about for the future?
Yeah.
You know, I want you to think about the transition from. I want y'all to think about the transition of mankind from trading a stone to trading paper to a credit card. And then I want you to now eliminate all paper. Because when you look at paper as what came between us versus the barter, right? It's pretty fascinating now. You ask, how is all digital currency going to come between us? Because that changes the dynamic of doing things off of the grid. Mm-hmm. And I feel like that's when you see people's true colors. Think about it. Like, you are wanted for posting a thought that essentially infested the hive mind, and the thought spread so rapidly that immediately and instantly it transformed the polarity of the hive. Such a bright and shining light or such a dangerous, right, effective, divisive light. Two sides to that coin. Third side is the responsibility of the world for how they would balance that. Because people are getting their thoughts across to the whole world in seconds now. And that's what they can't regulate. It's just like hip hop. When hip hop went through the phase of people selling CDs out their trunk, burning 50 to 100 and making all their money, quadrupling their value. They just burned 10. They just burned 10 movies, put them on one disc, and made $15, 20. Feel me? What does that do to them? That vexes them. No control. And this is how we stay alive, as control. You feel me? So, and we ain't got no control. You mean Kanye can sit up here in the middle of a deposition, look at his phone, talk reckless to the person giving him a deposition, put on a mask, go back to reading the phone? Or Lil Wayne, who I think deposition was brilliant because the art of deflection is one strategy in dealing with a deposition. Lil Wayne took a different defensive strategy when he dealt with this deposition, in which he played a teeter-totter, right, where he shifted the balance of power from them into his corner and tossed them it back when he felt like it, like a volleyball or something. It's brilliant. They asked him, for example, I'll give you like a little clip of what I thought was brilliant. They asked him, who are you trying to portray to be? And his Lil Wayne's response was, I am Dwayne Carter. I am not portraying myself to be anybody or anything. I am Dwayne Carter. You know, their goal was to say for him, because you got to think this deposition is also public, so now you can take shots at his character and box him in, right? If he says something like, I'm portraying to be a gangster or a rapper, might have something there. You feel me? Mm-hmm. But if he's saying, I am Dwayne Carter and I'm being myself, it is a very, very smart way to, instead of what you would say deflect, to essentially embrace. It's not a deflection in a sense where you're saying like you're Dwayne Carter. What are you trying to what are you trying to basically promote? And his response being, I'm just being myself, now takes out any business transaction. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's something you should watch. I wish I could give you better feedback on what I watched with Wayne, but I felt the deposition was powerful and something I would encourage each one of y'all to watch. That and the Kanye West deposition. Because I think people live in fear, and I think that their goal ultimately, or at least Kanye's, I know, is to take away people's fear. Right? We're so afraid socially to be ourselves that we put on a mask everywhere we go. We smile when we don't want to smile, right? And we do things that we don't want to do every single day. So at what point, I think Kanye is challenging that and getting you to see that essentially you got inalienable rights no matter where you are. Tupac did the same thing. You watch him when he shot those two off-duty police officers, and then he went in court, looked them both square in the eyes, in the face. And it's one thing to see a man walk like that on the side of the street when he's doing a music video. It's another to see him walk like that in court. You feel me? not putting on a facade, but being his. That Pac you see in the studio is that Pac you seen in the courtroom. You feel me? The same thing with Lil Wayne if you watch the deposition, and the same thing with Ye. And I feel like that's a mind state when you come into wealth, when you come into knowledge of self. Seen? And I think they come to knowledge of self because they understand the impact and influence they start having on people. So they say, well, if people see me as such, this must mean I am such. And Wayne told them straight up in the interview, I am who I am. I was like, yo, mic drop. You know what I mean? I know it's cliche, but mic drop. You know what I mean? That's how we got to be out here. You know what I mean? Because all of this, everything that you see historically in this country that black people get emotionally invested in is a waste of their time and resources and energy. Black folks was like, yo, let me run over here to Vietnam and fight these people. That was a waste of a lot of y'all time and resources. You felt like you was doing a noble thing, and I'm not mad at you, but what fruit did Vietnam bear? Some people say, well, it stopped the spread of communism. But do we live in a really democratic global system if you can't respect the country's right to be a communist country? Is it our duty to run up into another country to stop communism if it's okay from the global perspective, from the United Nations perspective, from international law, admiral law? Is it okay for a nation that's sovereign to be communist? Can the two live in harmony with each other? Well, that's yet to be seen. But I would say this. Is it wrong for a country like that to be communist? Do they have to be American? What would then make them Russian or Chinese? You peep what I'm saying? So you know, that's one of the things that, you know, I think is very, very uncomfortable for our nation to talk about, because we feel after World War II that we have a duty to police the world. Problem is, it's not our duty to police the world. It's the United Nations' duty to police the world. You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They can utilize the United States as one of the 5 powers, but I tell you what, they probably stop having so much global dispute if the United Nations just gave everybody, right, a fair shake at the table to speak, to have access to the bodily assembly as, right, the United Nations. It's supposed to be united. So anytime you got 5 permanent member states, another 5 swinging, you tell everybody else they don't have the same rights to the Security Council and other, you know, aspects that are supposed to come, you're not going to have peace. Where there is injustice, how can they? The two don't equate. So, you know, this is what I feel like, you know, is going on with the U.S. and foreign policy is, and this is why people are feeling Donald Trump's message so much. They're feeling his message so much because they're concerned with our overreach around the world, with our foreign policy spending, wasteful spending. These are legitimate concerns people have. You spend X amount of $1 million on condoms for another country? You mean you care about them getting theirs before I get mine? I mean, can I get my right? No, I'm playing. I was just trying to kind of like lie. My man's.
All right.
You know what I mean? But you go to a foreign economy and you have all these resources for them, but like he said, we got money for war but can't feed the poor. How you feeding the Africans and you ain't feeding the Americans? Since it's American first, that's the first thing y'all should be doing. First thing y'all said was get these cats out of here instead of let's get these guys fed. I wonder how many homeless died while they was focused on putting people out of the country. Seemed like more of the what we would call terror that's happening in the United States is coming from people in the U.S.
Right.
See what I'm saying? That's sad, but true. And we pray for this nation at a time where it can't seem to see what matters most. You ever see two motherfuckers fighting and they about to mess up the whole vibe and the whole party? Everybody was chilling. You just got on a baddie, but these two dudes want to go at it. What happens? The party over. Somebody might get shot. We got to answer to our shit in the morning. Maybe pick somebody up from prison. Dang, bro. Like, y'all don't be looking at y'all leaders from time to time and going, yo, man, like this. Like, yo, bro. Like, y'all want each other so bad, but yet behind doors, y'all might just be buddy-buddy, though. That's the mystery. You telling me that this country got a two-party state and they're talking about communists being the problem? You got a two-party state and there's hundreds of parties that run for office every year, but communism is the problem? How are you judging anybody's form of governance and in this state it's not free? It's beyond me. It should be free. It should be free here by now. We should be free here by now. And we should be not just having what you call equality, but we should be having equity by now. Black folks should have a bill by now. White folks, and I'm not against white people, but I want you to ask yourself, if this shoe fits, wear it. Are you the type of person who claims that he's white? Because I don't believe in race anyway. But are you the type of person that claims that he's white and celebrates what we would call St. Patrick Day and celebrates Cinco de Mayo? But when it comes to Emancipation Day and Juneteenth, you're nowhere to be found? Is that you? Are you one of those white people that benefit from the Civil Rights Bill? But when it's time to stand up for justice, you're nowhere to be found. Ask yourself, right? It's so funny. I'm sitting there watching The Godfather of Harlem, and I thought this part was amazing. I recorded it, and I'll post it on my page later. But on this Godfather of Harlem, they showed one of the mob bosses, the Italian mob bosses, was essentially beat up by the police, almost down there treated like a black man, because he had threatened some big shot, intelligence officer's daughter. So after this occasion happened, after they was beat up, he went and said, I'm going to transmute this energy into a civil rights movement. So he went publicly and utilized, I think it was like, what was Jimmy Hoffa over again? Trade union. I think he utilized the trade union platform to try to claim, no justice, no peace, essentially, and that we're being targeted because we're Italian. When he went to Bumpy Johnson to tell him, yo, I'm over here petitioning for our rights, Bumpy was like, I don't give a fuck about none of that. Excuse my words. What are you talking about? Like, you talking about your civil rights? And you over here trying to inflict on mine? Man, get out of here. You know what I mean? You trying to tax me unfair prices. You trying to eat at every table that I pull up without me inviting you to eat, and you want to take majority share? Like that's what what we call extortion. So that right there, that scene is amazing because that's real life. When they passed affirmative action, black folks thought they was going to make some progress and then realized real soon that affirmative action was benefiting white women more than minorities. It was benefiting Asians, right, who were a minority themselves when it comes to minorities, and yet and still benefiting the majority, right? But then, and this is so fascinating because that would seem to be two steps forward. It would seem to be two steps forward, but it seems like, now things are moving two steps back. Many black people may feel that way right now. Is it legitimized? That's on you to figure out. But you know, that's that revolving door where we go in thinking we're making progress and we end up right back out where we started. You feel me?
Yeah.
That's a revolving door. You know what I'm saying? Did you wanna chime in, Aya?
Yeah. I think with that point that you've just made, I would also like to kind of like talk to black people to kind of challenge our thoughts about this country and whether we think that we should continue to try to build here.
Right. Uh-huh.
And we've talked about it before on Clubhouse.
Yeah. What are your thoughts about that?
We talked about how the progress that we have made, whether we talk about Tulsa, Black Wall Street, Rosewood. We talk about how we've made these huge strides as a people to create our own economy, and basically establish our own nation here.
Our own political party, our own economies, our own banks. We done tried it all. Y'all, I'm gonna give y'all 3 references. Tulsa, right? The banker, right? And the Panther Party. Why did I say those 3? Tulsa, the banker, and the Panther Party. We've tried our own political party. That's the Panther Party. We tried our own banking. That's The Banker, the movie. Go and watch it with Samuel Jackson and Anthony Mackie. And we've tried to build our own economy. That's what you know as Tulsa. To me, I say. And so when black people still don't get it in this country, right? There's certain things you can build a life for yourself if you grind hard. You can. But even if you in a Benz, you still a nigga in a coupe. You feel me? Yep. And that's where the problem and the challenge lies. Even if you LBJ, LeBron James, you can still be told, shut up and dribble. Even if you Ice Cube, baby, 99, baby, on my grind, baby. But guess what? When the big 3 need to be on a major network, hey, go back over there to that kiddie table. We didn't invite you. You're not welcome. You know what I mean? At the big boys table. You know how on the Prince of Egypt they say, you're playing with the big boys now. You're playing with the big boys. Playing with the big boys now. Go and watch Prince of Egypt, by the way, too. Great movie. But in that movie, the magicians start singing this to Moses as they encircle him and unleash their serpents, thinking that their magic is going to prevail. But Almighty, right, who rose the staff from Moses' hand, right, showed that all of man's efforts will bear no fruit. See, they thought we made snakes, so look at the magic. But Almighty showed that everything they made will come to nothing by having the serpent consume the other 2. Why have a serpent or present one if you're not gonna use it? It's like a gun. You know what I mean? Like they pulled 2 trigger happy shooters out. You know what I mean? That's the 2 serpents coming with the venom, broods of vipers. Yeah. But guess what? When they tried to cock, my man said, Django. Yeah. Right? because greater is he that's in me than he that is in the world. What does he say? Move like serpents, harmless as doves. What does that mean, though? Is that a underlining message there too? A serpent, nobody to strike, ain't it? Wasn't it the serpent that consumed the other two serpents, ain't it? Right? See, we ain't starting nothing, but the Rastaman will finish.
Yes, sir.
Yes, give me that say. I ain't coming looking for no problems, none. But don't around and show up and find one. Ah, yeah. See me that. Because see, Rastafari stand alone. That's something that these hyenas will never understand. See, hyena need a pack of wolves. I mean, see, but we lions out here. You know what I mean? We move in packs. Don't get it stuck. But a lion know how to move alone too. See what I'm saying? So anyway, that's enough of that. You know, just saying in general, like we living in some crazy times. There's a major shift. The Great Reset is happening, and that's some by design. But what's happening by the divine is the Great Awakening. Y'all got the Great Reset. We got the Great Awakening. I mean, we starting to see now things we didn't see before. We starting to see heads of CEOs of companies that we never seen. They're being brought to the forefront now, answering publicly for their crimes. Think about it. Didn't the World Court just summons Netanyahu?
You said who?
The World Court, I believe the Hague, if I'm not mistaken, just summoned Netanyahu for war crime not too long ago. You feel what I'm saying? Zelensky was brought to the White House and reprimanded in front of the world. You say? I'm lying. Ibrahim Traore throwing people who's trying to come and cause military coups out. 4-star generals are being brought to task on live television, on channels that ain't on these channels ain't even mainstream. Fox or no, you come into the African diaspora channel to try to make people feel like, yo, I'm riding with you. And I can't judge that man. I'm not here to judge that man. I would more so ask that man to consider what's at stake, right? Because a lot of people historically thought that if they go along to get along, that they would be safe in the end. But I always refer to Tupac's words. I see you trying to hide, hoping that nobody won't notice. You must always remember you're still a victim of the hope to see you black like me, so you snap like me when these devils try to plot, trap our young black seed looking. You know what I mean?
Yes,
I'm feeling like that's something that he might need to hear. That's the love we need to give. It's effective because now you can't say we came at you sideways, so you have an excuse. No, you have to acknowledge that we came at you with love, as a gentleman, with wise counsel. And if you refute the counsel, you don't have to worry about me. You got to worry about the crown counsel and divine judgment. May I say? I mean, they may think themselves in their mind, the crown, laughable, a joke. But don't be surprised if the crown has given advice and counsel to global heads of state behind scenes that have been keeping the peace on earth. See? Last time I checked, they're being received by countries as official dignitaries and representatives of their own, if you will, body, sovereign body, for lack of a better word. You know what I mean? What are these conferences and conversations about? Because these people don't just have surface dealings. They have, right? They got what you will also call underworld dealings. Not saying black market or wicked, but when I use the underworld, hope y'all understand that there's overground and underground. Roots are grown underground. See me I say.
Right.
And there's organizations that are the foundation of these nations that are underground. See me I say.
Mm-hmm.
Chivalric orders that came together at times of desperation to ensure liberation for nation states. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying that all these organizations essentially represent the values of the Ethiopian Empire or the Crown or any of that. What I'm saying is these organizations exist. No different than the church on the end of the street exists. And last time I checked, Christ went to hell. Oh, excuse me. Let me take that back. That is a lie. And I just realized how much of a sad lie that is that most Western Christians hear that. He went to Sheol. Christ went to Sheol to get the keys. Excuse me. But anyway, welcome. Who is that? D. You're more than welcome to come to the stage. You got any questions, concerns, or reservations? Brother Livercall, if you wanted to add anything, man, you're always welcome to kick in. You're not, we always want to hear from you because you got so much great feedback and wisdom and history in, what I'm saying, Rastafari and in just, history. So, give thanks. Brother Josh, if you wanted to add anything too, you can. I would say we got about probably like 15 more minutes, and then we can jump off of here, and then we can go focus on here if you want for a little longer, or if you got things you got to do tomorrow.
Sure. I don't think I really have too much else to add, other than kind of just reiterate the point or reiterate the topic. The Great Reset and the Great Awakening. We've just been explaining. We see it. We see what's happening in the media.
Right.
We see the shifts. We see the divides that's happening. We see how the tides are turning.
Right.
The uprisings. The shifting in the consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
We see statistics and data that is backing this up. We're looking at by 2050, the number one place in the world to do business is going to be in Africa.
And African Americans here are going to represent 0% of the wealth in this country at that point. Isn't that what they're estimating it's going to be?
Yep.
Right. That's a statistic. What?
Right. So it's like
people over here like, I'm gonna stay. Go ahead. I gotta be here. Like, come on.
Yeah. It's like a literal like polar shift that's happening. It's like polar opposites. And
I'm gonna break that down real quick. I gotta just say.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Imagine you're on a plantation, and the economy is crashing and collapsing. And there's food scarcities. There's almost no food left, and all your food came from Massa. What do you think Massa's gonna do? You think he's gonna give you all the food so you can survive, or is he gonna start considering how he's gonna protect his food and how he's gonna secure his and his family's future? Desperation. And that's where you see these people in the woods and then practicing, preparing. And it's funny because God has a natural way of doing things. It's very interesting, but I want y'all to consider, right? While people is in the woods practicing, our people are killing, and defending their livelihood every single day in these streets. These people are trained now. Don't get it twisted and don't get it up. There's a lot of young black and minority people in the world around the entire country that's going to firing ranges every day, making sure that whatever set off, they ready. And see, numbers don't lie. Majority or house wins, but when the house is divided, it cannot stand. it cannot win.
Mm-hmm.
Seem like a house is divided right about now. That's something to think about. Brother Livicar, you there? Aya. Aya say.
He might be busy.
Yeah. It's all good. So, black people out there, this is not just about you either. I use black as a centralizing term. I don't like the term, to be honest. Why go on, Aya? Did you want to add anything, Bridger?
Yeah, I was just saying, on the right part, definitely, you see how the thing set up. So, the blackness now is really a state of mind, The idea that now blackness itself is, you have people who will claim it and people who will not.
Right. It's a love and hate. So for me, I use it informally, but when it comes to formalities, I'm bringing the term Negro.
Yeah.
See me, I say? Because, I believe that's the proper term. African American does not effectively, it does not effectively cover Negroes. That's just African American. So it kind of marginalizes what we truly represent. We represent a diaspora. And that's why I feel like the term Negro, right, is proper. Although it has negative connotations from the West who have perverted the word. The true meaning of the word is powerful and mighty. See me, I said, Negusa Negast.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
See? The King of Kings. You know what I mean? So Negas. My niggas. You know what I mean? I keep hearing this song when I say that, but because there's several songs too, not just one. But yeah, so I'm just saying that because we as a people got to focus on what's uniting us and stop focusing on what's dividing us now more than ever. When the tide shifts, the people must be one, right? Mm-hmm. You're not just black based on your blood. You feel me? You're a minority in this. If you're on the bottom, if you're essentially of the same spirit and mind, right, of Pan-African, then you are one with us as Negroes. See me, I say, welcome to the Negro Kingdom. Why? Because the Pan-African movement is global. This, what is it? There's a new movement called B something. The African Diasporan Channel uses it a lot. It's Foundational Black something like that.
Oh, Foundational Black Americans?
Yes. FBA. Okay.
Yeah. I've seen that. I think that's something that I feel like we need to come together on, because it's like FBAs and Pan-Africans are kind of like at odds with each other, at least on social media.
I mean, that's because on one end you're telling people I'm the foundation of this country, and on the other you said Pan-African, right? They're focused on international affairs, not just one country. That's why Pan-African is a more appropriate term when you talk about centralizing power. It's a team effort. Intercontinental living is the key to economic equity. And you know what I'm saying? The neo-colonialism is obviously going to do what any competitor is going to do. They're going to try to block it. It's no different than an NBA game. But you know what we black folks do? We slam dunk. See me, I say?
Is that?
Every now and again, you get a white brother that can dunk. You know what I mean? That'll sauce you just like a brother. And that white dude, if you go down the line long enough, you're going to see that he come from Africa too. That's the divine message. You see me, I say? That's the divine revelation. When they asked His Majesty about Italy, they said, do you hate Italians? And he said, we've always loved Italians, but we've always hated fascism. One of the most brilliant responses I've ever heard, and simple and cliche, but one of the most impactful. That's when you say, speaking with a double-edged sword, sharp enough to separate spirit from soul.
Mm-hmm.
Right? What's the heart of the matter is what he separated in this context. Right? He didn't throw away the baby with the bathwater in this context. She wanted him to throw the baby away with the bathwater. See me, I say, she wanted him to stumble. That was a stumbling stone. See what I say? That's why either the spirit of truth ain't in her, or she's sent there to test him for this purpose of revelation. This conversation between him and her is a divine revelation here. And he spoke with a double-edged sword, sharp enough to separate spirit from soul, because he essentially separated racism, right? And the notion that somehow, number one, hate is also something he separated. He put the racial rhetoric and hatred over here, just like setting the goats on this side, and then he put the truth over here on this side, right? And both statements were true, but one was a goat and one was a lamb. You feel me?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. Lyrical culture. Oh, you got a fan. Understand? Oh no, that's Hanson. Come on up. You got any questions? Concerns reservation. So, when His Majesty told this Italian woman who was interviewing him, and he basically said, he basically was saying we don't hate Italians, right? But we do. But we've always hated fascism, and that. To me, fascism is a spirit, right? Let me get the actual statement so we can get context, because that's a powerful statement. I don't think we should just fast forward past that. Can you give me Haile Selassie's full statement about? Excuse me, I digress. There was a woman, an Italian woman, that interviewed Haile Selassie. And this woman asked him how he felt about Italians. And he responded, I've always loved Italians, but I've always hated racism. Can you give me context about this statement and how prophetic and impactful this statement was? I think this is important to do on this. I don't know. I just... Okay, cool. Let's see. I've asked the question. Let's see what they say real quick. You watched that interview before, Brother Joshua?
I haven't watched the interview, but I know about it.
Or I mean, read. I'm sorry. Did you read this interview before?
Read?
Yeah.
I don't believe so.
Okay. Yeah, I think I got the video and the statement. He said, I've always loved Italians, but I've always hated racism. Wow. You know what I mean? Like, I know it's simple, but the simple statements like that are so profound, prolific, eternal, attenual, like, because he's separating, right? He's separating the spirit from the soul. Oof. Oof. The mystery about the spirit and the soul is that you're given a soul, that's choice, will, and you're given a spirit. That's the Ruach Kadesh, or breath of life. Imagine the breath of life severed from your soul. You feel me?
It's like at that point, it's nothing but the truth that's left.
Well, what they say. Well, I want you to think about when you're born, you're given the breath of life. That's what the Bible says that God gave Adam.
Mm-hmm.
But Adam was a man and a soul. Flesh, soul, and spirit. Now, Adam never got a chance, or it doesn't seem that Adam, well, we just never know. Was he reborn into the kingdom of God? The forgiveness comes from Christ himself. Maybe the repentance is made while they live, then they go into Sheol, and because they repented, Christ comes and redeems them. Of course, they hear him when he comes. So, man, this is crazy. To separate the spirit from the soul, what I'm trying to convey is that the spirit and the soul concept is a mystery, was a mystery to me, because I didn't understand the difference between spirit and soul for years. Thought they were the same. And maybe many people do believe that even to this day, but are they? I've always likened the soul to will and choice and consequence, but also to your body, your actual cells, your DNA, right? I look at the spirit or the Ruach Kadesh, or breath of life, as the Akashian record, keeping an account of everything that happens and transpires. And I look at the divine judgment is that you would speak blasphemy against the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit is descending into mankind like a dove, right? And now my question is, how does that Holy Spirit descending into you like a dove look now? To me, there's a Trinity now. If you got the Word in you, you got the Son in you. If you got, right, the will of the Father in you, you got the Spirit in you. See me, I say. And then you got you, right? The power of the Trinity is fascinating. You have to me, the Father is the primordial will. Your DNA and everything that you're made of, all in all, is the Father. The Holy Spirit descends into you like a dove. That's what the Bible say. Seems like light descended from heaven into Christ's temple. Now imagine if you were out there watching Christ get baptized and a cloud moved out of the way and light descended into the temple of Christ at that immediate time. It'd be very similar to the stories and testimony about Selassie when he came off the airplane. The light descended upon the people. The powers in the people. You see me, I say. So I'm saying this to say the Spirit of the Lord is the divine third thing you need in life. We may be looking at it wrong. We may be looking at it like you need a soul and the Ruach Kadesh, the breath of life. But no, you need the breath of life, the soul, and the Holy Spirit, Spirit of the Lord, the power of the Trinity. That's the new creature. It's deep, but meditate on it. What is the seed? If the Bible says Christ is the branch or the vine, we know the Lord is the root. You feel me? Mm-hmm. And then, so now the scriptures confirm that I am the root and the offspring. If Christ always referencing a parable of a tree, who is Selassie telling you he is? Alpha and Omega. In that title, root and offspring, he's saying I'm Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end. So when Selassie sit in his temple in the Jubilee Palace and he say, it is good that you are here with me in my palace in Addis Ababa. Today, people around the world will realize that with faith, courage, and a just cause, David will still defeat Goliath. You know what I mean?
Mm.
What is he saying? Why is he referencing himself as David? Is he telling you he's the root and the offspring of David? Yes, he is. Because he's paralleling the 20th century. He said, even in the 20th century, David will still defeat Goliath. Man, mighty. Now, you've seen him defeat Goliath by putting that headshot on Mussolini. That headshot was a catalyst. It eventually destroyed King Victor Emmanuel and their Pope. You feel me? It decimated because the Pope had just got his power back, just got his vassal states back, just got his wealth back, right? And he's got a military force through Mussolini too now, telling niggas you gonna get down or lay down with Catholicism. Wow, think about that. You feel me? That's like a legion, like Star Wars coming in. You feel me? That's wild when you think about it. You know what I'm saying? So now people think that King Victor Emmanuel wasn't a part of this, but he might have been the heart of this. See me, I say, oh, brother Nishan, I Rastafari. Oh, who was that? Livicar? Was that Livicar?
Yeah, I think that was Brother Livicar.
Okay, I thought I looked down and saw Nishan. You sound like Nishan on that one. No, that's cool. I love Nishan, and I thought that was dope. I was like, yo, Nishan, I got hype too because, man, I think this is powerful right here. You know, Benito Mussolini's resurrection of the Holy Roman Empire confirms biblical prophecy, and His Majesty dashed the head. Now, I want you to think about what happens when you cut a chicken's head off. Chicken, when you cut its head off, the body drops, see me I say, but it don't just drop, see me I say, the body goes, you know what I mean? Take off. Run. Whatever the chicken was thinking is about to play out for the next, I don't know, 10 seconds maybe? Who knows how long? What's the longest time that it played out? Consider that. Now, so this, now I want you to parallel that, you know what I mean, to this headshot that Selassie given to their empires. You got to see, like, the topic that we talked about today was earlier, was the transition black to white, European to whatever. But what does that transition look like? A fatal head wound to Italy has now put the European powers in embarrassment, humiliation, and awe, utter shock that for the second time a European nation lost to this Ethiopian empire who hasn't been defeated for thousands of years. So how does the empire respond? You see me, I say, they panic and fight. There's infighting. And now during their infighting and they're trying to take land fast as they can, Selassie is taking advantage of them infighting by unifying Africa. You see me, I say, while they are trying to manage their domains and what they call commonwealth, the commonwealth is now demanding them. And the commonwealth, while it was manageable before the war, now it's almost become unmanageable. It's all history. And all of these catalysts of these nations getting liberated, one after the other. Those liberation movements being spearheaded by the United Nations Charter for Human Rights, which now was a catalyst for civil rights movements around the world, because they could reference the United Nations Charter and say, you a member, and you stand by that or not. So this is the whole one world where the Messiah, our Messiah, is living in a time where there is a one world order. It's not just hearsay. Like y'all sometimes try to use Muhammad as an example. But to be honest and to be clear, as much as I honor Muhammad and I believe that Almighty sent him for an important time on earth while Christianity was being attacked, the Islamic nation, while also doing some of the attacking, had also established a pillar in the house of the Lord on earth. And all of these things happen for the purpose and means of the unification of Islam and Christianity in the heart of Ethiopia, right? During the times of Muhammad when he sent his followers there. So there's a divine prophecy being fulfilled with the nation of Islam as well around the world. And this is important because of the spiritual awakening is a tree with many branches. You see, we can go with Beta Israel. We can go with the House of Solomon. We can go with the Igbo. We can go with the Bantu. You know what I'm saying? We can go with the people in the United States that claim they're Israelite. So, sorry, I think you might got. I think you told me you have something you wanted to add. So, you wanted to go before we go. I did want to hear back from you as well.
Oh no, it's all good, bro.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So we have a very, very unique situation here with you know, this global movement and this global impact. It's like a wave. Now, always remember that the wave recedes. That's why it's not smart to get too ahead of the wave, because when it recedes, right, you're gonna feel the most impact of the wave. You feel me?
Mm-hmm.
You gotta go with the wave and embrace for the impact by balancing, not going too far out, but also not going out enough. Um, so strategizing how we move forward as a community and as a people is quintessential for success. Um, as we, come to a close of the Great Reset versus the Great Awakening. This is a very important time. Our people are awakening and not being awoken is not throwing a mazel tov or tap dancing or yelling or petitioning on the streets. That all, to me, that day is over. That day of, to me, the day of the civil rights where people sit into location where they're not supposed to sit is over because now they know from experience that it's wiser to just spend your money on your people instead of going to people who don't want your money and are going to or want your money but still want to abuse or misuse you. You know what I mean? I think we evolved from that from experience now. We should be on a level now where we say, okay, cool, you wanna use you know all types of racist and what we would call discriminatory actions against us, then what we're going to do is centralize our power and um, start to consider having our own nation. That's the last thing I wanted to say before we go. When did black people stop wanting to have their own nation? When, and I say that across the board, Jamaicans never stopped wanting to have their own nation. Haitians never wanted to stop having their own nation. Dominicans, Puerto Ricans, Mexicans, Japanese, I don't know, one nation, you name it, wanted to stop being a nation, wanted to stop having their own military might, wanted to stop having their own economic wealth, wanted to stop having their own economy, and wanted to stop having their own destiny. Our people, suffering from Stockholm syndrome, have essentially started to protect their captors and are inadvertently protecting their captors' interests. Our people are suffering from cognitive dissonance because you can talk to them, and in one ear it'll go. They'll claim that they're learning something, but out the other ear, it will end. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So, how we essentially combat those things that have us jaded and what we would call conditioning that has our mind in a prison built by our own hands. We have to start to challenge our perspectives and be transformed by the renewing of our minds, because it is a great awakening, and that great awakening ends with Negroes having their own nation, the Negro Nation. Know what I mean? I don't know what we'll call it, but the Negro Nation, to me, for my soundbite of the day, the Negro Nation. Kanye said at some point slavery becomes a choice. People wanted to stone him. Kanye said Harriet Tubman didn't free the slaves. She brought them up north to more white folks. People wanted to kill him. But he also was indirectly saying, when did my people stop having a desire and understanding that they have to have their own nation if they want to carve their own destiny and place under the sun? So with that, I thank everybody that tuned in tonight. I appreciate all of the that support us continually. We love you. God bless. We will be back on shortly. In the name of His Imperial Majesty, Emperor Haile Selassie I the First. Rastafari.